Hey guys, welcome to another episode on TFBTV. Today we're here with Scott Howard of Machine Gun Dad. Scott, thank you so much for coming on the show again.
Thanks again for having me.
Really appreciate it. Guys, if you really want to see more of Scott's videos, more in-depth stuff, check out Scott's channel, Machine Gun Dad, on YouTube. He's got some really good stuff over there. Before we get into this video, we'd like to thank Ventura Munitions for helping us out with a sponsorship and for getting us ammunition to make these sorts of videos here. So today we're looking at the ZB30 and we're going to talk about the ZB26 as well. But the ZB30 had a very influential impact on light machine gun design in the late 1920s, 30s, and 40s. You might know some derivatives of this that you've seen locally produced, such as the British Bren gun or the Japanese Type 99, for example. But we really want to dive into it, and we really want to see what makes this thing tick and why does it tick so well. All right, Scott, so can you please take us away and tell us about the ZB30?
I'm not a weapons expert, but from what I've learned, and really more from shooting them, and shooting the Bren versus ZB30 versus Jap 99 versus American BAR, on and on. Obviously, these two guns came from the ZB26. Internally, the ZB26, the parts don't interchange with the ZB30. But when the Czechs redesigned it, I truly believe they redesigned it for a purpose because, and you can attest to this, when you run the gun is like butter. It doesn't move. You can literally do a 20-round mag dump and it'll all go in the same place. The quality of the machining and everything. This gun was made in 1936. It's got a barrel from a different gun. It has a lower from a different gun. Obviously all Czech ZB30s, but runs flawlessly. It runs like it was made last year. Mm-hmm. This gun, or actually the ZB26, saw so much historic service. The Germans used it early in the war. A lot of their occupation forces used it. If you watch, there's a lot of footage of the Germans suppressing partisans and stuff, and the guys are carrying ZB30s. Spanish Civil War, the tripod we fired off of was Spanish made for the Civil War, for this gun. So this gun actually was involved in huge amounts of history, 30s, 40s, even in the 50s, and the Vietnamese got a bunch of these guns from the Chinese and the Russians. It's hard to explain to somebody who hasn't shot it. They'll say, oh, the American BAR is better, or oh, the Bren's better, or this is better, until you shoot one.
Can you talk about some of the features of it, going from the buttstock to the muzzle?
Okay, obviously, which was big back then, you have your shoulder support. The gun does have a selector switch. Unlike the BAR, it does semi and full. And another thing the Czechs did, they didn't bother with that BS rate reducing thing. It's either semi or full. I think that's one of the reasons that the gun is so smooth, is you don't get a pause in the bolt moving back and forth caused by an artificial pause caused by a rate reducer. You don't get that momentary pause where all that metal has to slow and then speed back up. This is your dial sight. They carried this over to the Mark I Bren. It's from the ZB26, but then the British went to a different, almost to a ladder sight on the Mark II.
Why do you suppose the rear sight adjustment drum was so huge?
Gloves.
Because to operate in the winter?
Inclement weather.
Okay.
Gloves, hot weather, sweat.
It's easier to get a grasp.
And the numbers are stupid big on it, so you can see the numbers without even having to, it's not like, oh, am I at 100 yards? No, there's a giant 2, there's a giant 3. Mm-hmm. Your quick change, on the Czech guns right here, you actually have to use a bullet or something. It's recessed, so it can't accidentally be bumped. But on the British guns, it sticks out. There's your carry handle, which flops out of the way.
Yeah.
Thin barrel for cooling. There is nothing in this gun that I think they did wrong, except they need a bigger mag. Everybody says, and when it comes down to it, when people argue over this or the Bren, well, the Bren holds 30. This only holds 20. Mm-hmm. I am aware of some factory 40 rounders. I think they might have been for a foreign contract, because I've only ever, Kent Lamont had them at the creek, and oh my God, decades ago, and I haven't seen one since.
Would the Bren magazine fit?
No, it's not even close, because when they redid the British redesigned the receiver, they made the receiver thicker because the Bren magazine is a little thicker for the rim cartridge. So the best way I describe it is the Bren gun is a cheap knockoff of this gun.
Yeah.
The British, and that was you came up with that on your own. The British took this stuff and then cut production corners. ZB30 is such a good made gun that this is a piece of machined steel.
Yeah, you were mentioning that before.
Instead of a piece of stamping. It's a machined piece of steel.
Whereas the British, this is a
Piece of bent steel. Looks like a casting. It's certainly not the quality because look, it doesn't even fit. And look at this. Much better mag. And the magazines on this lock in like on all ZBs or Brens. You do that tilt lock. Front goes in, you go in the front, and then you just. It's very positive. One of the things you noticed, I'd like to bring up is the skill set to run this gun is different than modern machine guns. This gun, when you run it at the last round, locks open. So most American machine gunners and stuff now that are running belt feds, they don't lock open. Then when they run dry, what's the first thing you do? You yank on the charging. You break your grip. You yank on the charging handle. I think they teach you to hold the charging handle, reload, and then push the charging handle forward and go back in the thing. On this, if you have a two-man gun team, if the gun's running properly, the gunner never touches the charging handle after he charges it initially because it locks open. The assistant gunner will come up with one hand, take this out, clip in this with another hand, and the gunner would have never broken his grip, and he could be back in the fight in 3 seconds, 2 seconds. So I know the Germans ran these guns as a two-man team. I'm not sure if the British ran their Bren guns as a two-man team, and the Americans really didn't run the BAR as a team. It was a solo rifleman, a BAR-man.
You had assistant riflemen but they just carried magazines.
They didn't sit there and load the gun for you. They didn't set it up as a crew serve weapon. This gun could be run as a crew solo, but it runs ideally as a crew serve weapon.